20% company would experience a privacy breach. And when there's visibility, AI governance actually could be trusted. So what you cannot see and what is not visible, you cannot govern. What you cannot govern, basically, you cannot trust. And what you cannot trust, you cannot scale responsibly.
Hello, my friends. Thank you for being at Eagle Tech Talks. Right now, we have a new guest that she is an expert on AI governance and many other standards. Her name is Adesola, and we are very happy and excited to have it with us. And I'm going to let her present herself, give us a little background of what is their current position and what is their expertise. Adesola, how you doing?
Great. And you?
We're doing fine. So tell us a little bit about you. What is your current position? Where are you working? What is your expertise? Where you come from? We wanted to know everything about you.
Great. Thank you so much for asking. My name, like you said, is Adesola, and my last name is Fakiyesi. I actually work as the AI governance lead at Top Group Technologies here in the United States. I'm actually from Nigeria, that's Africa. And basically, I have always worked in where an audit, compliance, treasury, money laundering, governance, and risk. And I have spanned through many industries. I've been through FIs, also technology. I've been through the healthcare industry and a bit of aviation industry. And it has always been about risk. It has always been for me about compliance. But actually recently, the AI governance became one of my hot topics. I was actually pulled in from compliance into governance. Because of course my expertise on that was actually seen through all the works that we were doing, all the initiatives that the organization was pulling together. And I just realized that a lot of times many of the leaders were not understanding what AI governance was actually all about. And I began to lend my voice and lend my experience and my expertise as I went through several of the departments, especially at Top Group Technologies and even outside Top Group Technologies, where I actually have mentorship for others. I actually have trainings on the side. And basically, I have the LinkedIn space where I actually give my frameworks to demystify AI governance. Thank you.
Wow. So before we dive in, when was the first time that you realized that AI was not just a tech, it was not from IT topic anymore. It was also a finance and a governance topic. I mean, because AI for many, many years have been always a talking point for nerds, for IT folks. But now AI has actually transcended. Now it is a topic that involves everybody. And when do you realize that this trend was happening?
Thank you, Edward. I often tell people that AI is not primarily a conversation for technology. It's actually a decision-making conversation. Because throughout my career, I realized that every decision and outcome was actually carried some risk, carried accountability risk, carried the consequences. And the challenge was not whether organizations were using AI. They already are, because you see HR actually looking through resumes and basically using AI. And then you see operations actually working through making recommendations, even with AI. So I began to understand that AI is actually influencing decisions and working at an intersection throughout all the departments. And it dawned on me that there's need for visibility, there's need for accountability, and also oversight. So that's where governance, finance and governance actually comes in. As much as AI simply would accelerate the decision at scale, it's no longer, can AI do this? It's now became who is accountable when AI actually influences this decision. And at that point, it's no longer just for technical. but it's actually for finance and governance. Now that call for finance and governance. Thank you.
No, well, that's a great view. I mean, it is AI is becoming a business decision rather than a technical decision.
That's it.
So for the SMB and for those that are hearing us, SMB is a small, medium businesses. Some people think SMB means only small businesses. We're talking about small and medium. Uh, so for SMB owners that see AI as something that only my IT department have to worry about, uh, why do you think they have to change that mentality?
Oh, they have to treat them because basically AI is sitting at the intersection to influence every decision. And there is no one that would not have a risk. For example, if you look at a small business organization, because let's look at 20 to 25, let's say small, you sometimes you come across a privacy risk. You could also have a hiring risk. You could also have a financial risk from recommendations that were given, maybe inaccurate recommendations. And then you have a compliance or regulatory risk. At that point, it's no longer whether the organization has 20 or the organization has 50, but it's now, why was that risk? Who owns the risk? And then you have to pay the penalties. So you need to understand that you do not want to sit at that point to begin to explain because nobody's going to listen to you, but you want to be able to be accountable. You want to be able to be compliant. You want to be reliable and you want to be safe. You want to be transparent. So you must understand that you are at an intersection that AI is actually in your view, whether it is you want to embrace it, but you have no choice than to embrace it at this junction as a small or medium scale because it's influencing every of your decision and you are at risk.
So in that regard, I mean, we are talking again with the SMB environment. They are not knowing that some people in their companies are using AI, and that is a problem, and that's what we call in the IT industry shadow IT, where they for many companies are buying, are actually buying the AI tools without management knowing, without IT knowing, and people are just getting crazy, exposing information from their companies, exposing intellectual property as well, and actually getting the company to be more at risk in some occasion. But they see these risks as being justified by what they're gaining out of AI. So no one's now wants to be behind AI. Everybody wants to have some sort of AI. AI is a hot topic, and that's why we decided to talk about that. In this show, like millions of shows talking about AI, because it is changing a lot of how we do business and how do we operate in general. But no one is talking about, or at least a few people only are talking about the shadow AI that is happening across industry. So, what do you have to say to those small businesses that are not really worried about that, or they're underestimating, how AI is actually being used in their business?
Thank you, Edward. The first thing is actually visibility. Small and medium enterprises have to understand that they have to know what exactly are AI tools. And that's what we call the AI awareness or the AI literacy gap. They need to begin to understand what exactly are these AI tools. For example, ChatGPT for emails. Some people use Copilot for documentations. Some others will use Zoom AI summaries. I would say that some others will use maybe resume screening tools. Some others will use maybe customer support chat boxes, financial forecasting tools. So suddenly you begin to realize that AI is influencing every decision and outcome. And the biggest AI risk may be the AI that you do not realize is influencing your decision. So many times you do not label it as AI, but that's where the issue of visibility actually stands out. So you need to begin to understand, come into the consciousness, come into the awareness that indeed AI is actually influencing your decision and your outcomes. And like I mentioned earlier, that a 20% company could experience a privacy breach. And when there's visibility, AI governance is actually could be trusted. So what you what you cannot see and what is not visible, you cannot govern. What you cannot govern, basically, you cannot trust. And what you cannot trust, you cannot scale responsibly. So it's important that you understand that your customers are looking for trust. They're also looking for you to be able to govern responsibly. They're also looking for you to be accountable. So you do not have a choice then to come into that consciousness of visibility first before going into the policies or even the frameworks. Thank you.
Well, talking about framework and governance, we obviously have to start talking about NIST, especially in this area that you and I are. We are in the East Coast, close to DC. Government agencies and government contractors. There's a lot of small businesses and medium businesses that are required to have NIST, and now NIST is coming out with the NIST AI ARM MF. Can you tell us a little bit about what is that actually is, and what does that mean?
Thank you. NIST is actually very simple. I would not make it look so difficult because many people actually, once they hear the NIST framework, they think it's something bigger than what it should be. But it's actually just a practical framework that is built around 4 simple ideas. And it just transforms your theoretical documentation into daily operational practices. Those ideas are govern, you have to map, you have to measure, and you also have to manage. And so let's take a look at govern. Govern is actually the foundation. And at this point, you are assigning responsibility. You're also defining who is accountable. You're defining ownership. So that's the foundation. That's the building block. Then you move on to your map. How do you do the map? That's actually like your AI inventory because that is the context. And you begin to understand the AI tools, where they sit, who owns this, what decisions they're influencing, and then you begin to map it one to another. Then you look at measuring. That's assessment. So you're assessing, is there a risk to this? Is there an impact to this? And in that, you understand what the risk, what the impact is. And if there's actually a risk and an impact, how do I mitigate that? And that's where you get into manage, the last one there, the last idea. And in managing that, basically you want to have things like controls. So when the risk arises, what do you do? How do you manage it? How do you implement the controls? And so you do not need a 50% governance team to do that. You do not even need a 100-page policy or to do that. It's as simple as it is, just transforming your theory, documentation, your paper into practice, into daily operational practices. And that's all it is. Thank you.
Wow, that's wonderful. So, what do you think will be the minimal viable governance for small businesses under 50 employees? What is the absolute lowest visibility or governance that they need for AI?
For AI, the first thing I would say that you need inventory. Sure, you need, and that you can do pretty easy through an Excel sheet. So you don't need a very big framework if you do not have all of that too. You also need a usage policy. What are your usage policies, which you can easily create? What exactly should people, do you have authorizations? Do you have a multi-factor authentication? Do you have what timing, what tools are being used? Maybe you have a ChatGPT on a browser. All of that has to be put into the usage policy. You also have to have a training and awareness for the employees because basically you need to bring your employees up to speed. You need to be able to teach and to say, okay, educate them to say, these are the risks and these are the consequences of every action that is being taken. And basically you just have an execution. Who owns this? Who is responsible for this? A human review at the end of the day so that basically you can monitor. And with that, you are very good to run even at the beginning. You can continue to scale as the business grows and as you begin to, realize that you have more risk or you have more tools in the organization. But with that, you are good to go as your minimum or your leanest structure.
In that regard, what would be the recommended strategy to handling the shadow AI? But when for the small and medium businesses that they actually don't have an IT team or they don't have the budget for continue monitoring the AI, the shadow AI?
Like I said, you do not need a 50-man governance team to actually have a monitoring team. You could actually pick, if you have different departments, you could actually pick different employees, one from each department, because you must understand that AI cuts across every department. So it's important that if you can create just a small cohort of one employee each, just, standing in place of my own department. I'm in operations. Edward is in finance, and basically Edward stands in for finance, and standing for operations, and that person stands in for HR. And basically you make that team. So basically you can create who is accountable. You can also create right there who is responsible out of all of that, pending a time where you have a bigger structure to accommodate that. And like I said, you can use Microsoft Office. You have the Excel document. You have the Copilot, that will help you. You also have the Word document, so you can use all of that even to your advantage and leverage on that for all of your usage policies, for monitoring, and also for responsibility. Thank you.
All right. Can you let's make this more practical, right?
Okay.
We have talk about theory and what is the frameworks defined and all that stuff, but in real life examples, can you give us? And obviously, we're not going to ask to reveal any client, but a case that you have seen a small medium businesses move from an uncontrolled AI and to use actually an structured approach. What changed for them? Can you tell us a little bit about your experience with businesses?
Yeah, sure. I would touch on one of my clients. They was actually using ChatGPT, which is the most common of them all.
Mm.
And this client and that department was a marketing department, and basically most of the decisions that were being made was through ChatGPT. But we realized that the outcome, there were a lot of inaccurate decisions that were made. And by the time we did the data lineage auditing, we realized that it came out of the fact that there were no reviews, there were no controls in place. And there were a lot of risk that organization had to face at the time. And that was because there was an unstructured approach to using that tool, ChatGPT. Do we say ChatGPT is wrong? No, it's not wrong. Do we want to ban ChatGPT? No, we cannot ban that. But the problem was that there was no structured approach in place to ensure that ChatGPT was being used within the boundaries of the AI governance. And so we spoke with leadership, and leadership had to understand that they had responsibility, they must have oversight, and they must be accountability for this. And we began to make, the first thing was actually to define what visibility, what is this tool? This is ChatGPT. And we defined that. Then the next thing was actually to define the policy. What is the policy for ChatGPT? Do we want to attach it to the browser and make it so that basically they just go on the browser and click on that browser? And that is within the firewalls of that organization. And that was in the policy. Then the third thing that we did was actually to ensure that we had a human in the loop. So there was a review for that. So we could review any outcome or decisions that should be made before it actually gets out to the client. And that human review was put in place. And at the end of the day, we had the monitoring. So that no matter what, throughout that whole process, a human is actually there, even in the command. What happens if and only if that it's escaped the human in the loop? And
Okay.
we had that at the end of the day, intervening, someone that needs to intervene even before an outcome is irreversible. And we have the human in command. And with that, we were able to see that, of course, we were able to reduce the risk, even over 80% of that risk at the end of the day.
What do you think will be the three most common mistakes by SMB implementing governments on their own?
The first thing I would say is governance before visibility, starting with policies before visibility. I will give an example right here, so that it becomes very practical. I was speaking with one of the leaders of the FIs, And within 5 minutes, he was telling me, he said, no, we don't need AI governance for microfinance and all of that. And I said, really? And then he said something, he just mentioned Copilot and said AI transcription. And I said, sorry, I just heard Copilot. He said, no, oh no, Copilot is actually okay. I said, no, it's not. It's actually an AI tool. So he actually did not understand that that tool was actually AI. And as soon as I said that to him, he just said, I think we need to invite you immediately. You need to come and we need to have a meeting. And at that junction, I began to realize that AI governance, he had put AI governance even before the visibility. So we must always remember that governance, what you do not see, you cannot govern. And if you do not understand that Copilot is actually an AI tool, then how do you govern that? And visibility will always create your accountability. Accountability will always build your trust. And that trust will enable responsible AI. Another mistake that I've always seen is that many people think that AI governance is actually for large corporations. And that's one of the biggest misconceptions I hear all the time. But AI risk does not scale with company size. A 20-person organization can actually make a biased hiring decision. You can actually rely on maybe an inaccurate AI-generated recommendation. So when these things happen, employees are not going to care how many people work for your organization. Regulators are not going to ask you those questions. Customers are not going to ask you those questions. All they care about is your outcome. And that's why I always say that governance isn't about size. And the third thing here, mistake that many do is that they create so much complexity with the AI governance. Employees, and that's why you find that employees walk around AI governance because people are naturally averse to things that are complicated, are complex. So when an infrastructure, a system is complex, you find that with that, a lot of employees begin to have friction. And bad governance will always lead to your innovation going underground. But with good governance, you have your innovation. You are enabling your innovation. So it's important that you create clarity. Let there be simplicity with the way you are able to communicate governance, AI governance, even to employees and even to leadership. I've been invited to come and talk to non-technical leaders on how to understand AI governance because they're non-technical. So you do not need all the lingo and all the big lingo of AI governance. You want to make it simple. So it should be simplicity over complexity. So those are
So,
three mistakes.
in that mentality or that mindset, right? If someone is listening to our podcast, going to work Monday morning or even in his house, just browsing YouTube or Spotify, uh, and they're just listening to this, and it's like, oh my goodness, I do need to take action on my company, or I need to tell my boss that he needs to take action on this. What do you think will be, very briefly, the three things that they should take action on? Something very concrete. I mean, what are the three first things that you recommend medium small businesses to do?
Thank you. I will take a cue from the GPS, which is very relatable. You have a GPS system. Everybody knows that. So, and the first thing the GPS is going to do for you is going to ask you, where are you right now? What's your location? So the same thing, and that's what I call visibility. So if you can remember the GPS system, you can remember this. Where are you right now? So if you know where you are right now, then you know how to navigate. Where you right now, the first thing you should ask yourself, what tools am I using? So am I using ChatGPT? Am I using the PDF, AI PDF summaries? Am I using a translator? Am I using a Copilot? So once you understand your location, the next thing that the GPS is going to ask you, where is your destination? Where are you headed to? So that is the next question, and that becomes your outcome. What are you trying to achieve? Are you trying to achieve greater efficiency? Are you trying to achieve customer trust? Are you trying to achieve maybe financial impact? So what exactly are you trying to achieve? Your outcome will be your destination. Then with the GPS, you also have the route. The GPS could actually take you either through the local roads or through the highway, speed or Of course, when you have speed, you must understand that you're now coming in for more risk. So do you want to go through the highway or you want to go through the back road? If you're going through the back road, then it is actually a longer route, but minimize risk. So you want to be able to ask yourself, what's your risk appetite? Are you ready to go on the speed lane or you want to go on the slow lane? And with all of that in place, you have those three things, even with the GPS system, to actually work with.
Perfect. So just to summarize, I mean, there has been so many cases of just data security breach, and I love what you said, that what you cannot see, you cannot govern, because that is the same strategy that cybersecurity firms like Eagle Tech do, and we have a big partner called Proactivanet that they also you cannot protect what you don't know you have. So if you don't see what you have, you don't know what you have, how can you protect it? And it's the same for AI as well. If you don't know what tools is your company actually, so in your experience, is any particular tool or method to actually inventory all the AI that the companies are using?
There are different methods depending on the organization, depending on the particular organization, whether you're in the FI. And for that inventory, for a small and medium, I would say, you can actually just, use the Excel. There are bigger enterprise and modules that are doing all of this, but that's a lot for small, medium. And that's why I would not want to call any of those enterprises, because I'm not, I don't want to be that one that's selling and saying that this is better than this and all of that. And that's why I've decided to keep it small to Excel, which everybody knows and which you can actually use for as you begin that route. Something I would like to mention right here is the human in command, which is actually very critical, because you mentioned the breach. And that human in command, it's very, very critical, because as we begin to move scale into execution, it's important that you have the human in command. And what does it say? It's actually a practical authority that says an ability to intervene before the outcome actually goes south. So that answers who can still influence that outcome. So where you have a privacy breach, it means that there was really nobody to influence that outcome. That was why there was still that blind spot or that loophole before it happened. So can you preserve a meaningful intervention or influence before any situation or whether there's a consequence? So it's not just about responsibility all the time, but you must understand that people must retain and regain the ability to intervene before the outcome occurs. Thank you.
All right. So what do you think will be your final recommendation in terms of adopting AI responsibility for small businesses? Because right now we have a lot of owners, a lot of managers, a lot of CFOs that are kind of like, I don't think we need to do much. You just buy the licenses, buy Copilot, buy I don't know, Claude, or just like, no, give me 50 Copilot licenses and we're going to be good to go. And we at Eagle Tech have seen companies just requesting just licensing, and it is a very hard way to actually empower them to be more knowledgeable about AI. And some of them are just thinking, no, you guys just want more money. That's why you want to teach me this. You want more money. Just give me the license and we'll figure it out. So what what do you think will be the message to actually use AI but use it responsibly?
Okay, thank you. The first thing I would say that AI governance should not be feared. It should be understood. It's not about controlling AI. It's about actually helping organizations trust AI enough to scale it responsibly. And I tell people AI governance is not just about slowing your innovation. It doesn't slow you down. It actually helps you. It enhances you, because once you can govern, then you can gain the trust back. And whatever you can trust, you can also scale. And you must understand the ownership. Leadership always owns that risk. And if you own that risk, then you must be responsible for that risk. And I don't think any organization loves to have regulatory penalties, regulatory fines, compliance fines, or even losing the trust of their customers. And at that junction, I want to say that it's important that you govern, because you would ensure that your customers can trust you. Regulators can actually also trust you, and you can continue to scale responsibly.
All right. Well, thank you very much. I mean, this has been a very informative, and I'm hopeful that is not the last time that we speak. I think you gave a lot of food for thought to business leaders that are not seeing clearly how important is AI governance. And before we finish the program, so what will be the best way to contact you if someone need help with the governance?
Thank you. Okay, you can reach me on LinkedIn with my name. My name is still remains Adesola Fakiyesi.
We're gonna put it here, right
Yeah,
there on
so
the
we
screen.
can put it on the screen. So basically, and with my phone number, show all of that details. I'm sure we can put it on the screen for them, so that they can reach me. But I'm sure the best way is actually through LinkedIn. That's actually my to go for anyone
Your
that
to
has.
go.
Yes, my
All
to go.
right.
Yes, for anyone
Perfect.
that has
Perfect.
to reach.
Well, thank you very much for your time. Thank
Thank
you
you.
very much for all that information and experience that you have. I really like, how we wrap it up. That is, I think the right message for small and medium businesses. And hope you to talk to you soon. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Edward.
And so we are going to talk about our sponsors. Microsoft Copilot is sponsoring this program along with Proactiva.net. You cannot secure what you cannot see. And we also have Eagle Tech Corp sponsoring, obviously, this wonderful podcast. And we will see you next time. Thank you very much for those that are watching us, since we are doing this podcast and it's fairly new. Subscribing, liking, and sharing is greatly appreciated. And until the next time, thank you.